What's up, guys? Crane here from Logic Lounge Gaming, back with our approach into Dubai. As you guys know, we took off from Seattle about 13, almost 14 hours ago now, and we're now on our descent into Dubai. We're on one of these really long approaches. Dubai has one of these approach paths, and it happens pretty much with all of their approaches. They're very long, and they have many points on them. I'll kind of back up here and show you guys our current approach, what we're on right now. So we're pretty much going on a downwind for runway 12. So we're going to come straight and then take a right, and then you see all these points. All these points are points on the approach path. We're going to do a very long downwind and then a turn to final, and we're going to be going on 12 left is our arrival today. We're doing the RNAV arrival for 12 left is the RNAV arrival that we're on today. I have to restart EasyDock because it seems to be having some issues, but that's okay. So we have this really long downwind, and if you had an approach maybe from over here in this direction, what you would have been doing is you would have been coming, you've had an extra leg, so it would have come down here this way, then you would have wrapped yourself around. But Dubai is known for having these really long downwinds and approach paths just because of how the runways are set up and how their approaches are set up to get all of their aircraft, and it's quite a unique airport in that respect. So we're about to make that right turn now. I think there's an aircraft maybe about taking off. No, he's on approach. So I chose 12 left for arrival because the wind is currently 150 at 8 knots. So I had initially planned for 30 right, but the wind does not favor us today for 30 right. So here we are. The airport is right here. Hopefully we won't get an out of memory error today. I am on P3D, which kind of does better with memory than Flight Sim does, so I can kind of crank the graphics a little bit higher, but we'll have to see as we come here. So you see there's an aircraft actually right down here who is on approach to, I think, 30 left, because 30 left is the arrival runway for the 30s, and 12 left is the arrival runway for the 12s. Fun fact for you guys. So we'll have a nice view of Dubai as we come from the water side. I think the water side is the best approach because you see the entire city and you get to see all of the wonderful aspects of it as we come into Dubai. So it will be fun. It should be a short-ish taxi. We're at Terminal 3. I think the concourse is like Concourse D or something, which will have a very quick taxi. Let's see if I can set up the arrival. So I think, let me check my ground chart here for a second. Airport ground chart for the apron. We're Foxtrot 25 is going to be our gate today. Foxtrot 25 will be our there we go. Alright, so we'll have handling already on the ground. You can see the plane just landed right there. It looks really cool. You can see Dubai out here. You can see all the large buildings, which is really cool. This is the Fly Tampa scenery. So Fly Tampa has some great scenery for Dubai, and I really do love it. They did a reboot of it. So let's go over some quick approach plate stuff here. We're down to an initial of 2,000. 2,000 is our minimum today. Actually, 2,000 is our initial for the approach. That's what we're going straight down, but it's being managed by the FMC right now as we're on an RNAV arrival, which manages our vertical speed as well. We can also set up here our approach VREFs. Our approach VREF will be flaps 30 at 137. I believe 145 is our approach speed, however. So we'll be a little bit faster than this VREF speed. everything is pretty much all set up here. We're on the arrival, like I said, we're on the Puva to Bravo arrival for RNAV of 1 to left is the arrival. The arrival is very specific. Hopefully I'll throw in a couple approach plates here so you can see them, but you'll be able to see how much it takes to fly this approach, which is not a lot. It's kind of managed all for you. As for our approach plates, our altimeters are set. We have very low today, hectopascals of 0.906, so low pressure today. Landing checklist will be next, but we have our approach checklist. We'll be landing with auto brakes 2. I don't expect us to need more than that. I think auto brakes 2 is more than enough to get us nice and slow down. We did burn a lot of fuel. Like I said, we started at flight level 310, and we ended up at 390. We did a step climb about every 2 to 3 hours. We had a step climb up to our final cruise of 390, which we completed somewhere over Russia. As you know, we did somewhat of a polar ops flight today, where we went all the way up and over the poles. Or we didn't go over the pole, but we did get very well close. We had to change our heading to a true heading rather than a magnetic heading. We were that far north. That is what I pretty much consider a polar ops, if we have to change our magnetic heading to true heading when you get that close. So coming through 8,000 now, we'll kind of flip on some lights here to make us a little bit more visible as we're on our downwind over the water. I know it's not terribly exciting. The weather is partly cloudy. It is hot today. We're already at 37 degrees centigrade, which will be, I think, our landing temperature. I think the temperature on the ground right now in Dubai is 41 degrees centigrade, which is hot. I would probably burn up and die in that type of heat, but that is the heat that comes with living in a place that Dubai is. Although it is a dry heat, I've been told. Dubai is a dry heat, which apparently is much better than a wet heat, I guess. That's what it is, a wet heat. So this approach controls your descent and your speed. So coming up, we'll be actually slowing down to about 185 on the approach, but I think I'm going to keep it up to 220 on most of this approach. Those speeds are really due, in fact, to how many aircraft actually approach Dubai, that it's just it gets them on a set speed for a long distance, so they're able to kind of line them up and land them one by one by one by one. Obviously, that is not needed today. I think that was the only aircraft that we saw that just landed that I think was landing with us, so we don't need to keep our speed terribly, terribly high. It is a long approach. It is an approach that a lot of people like because it's so long. Now, as I'm thinking about this, so in 777 operations, there are certain times when your APU needs to be started for landing and arrival, and that's just due to the heat on the ground. So when it gets really hot on the ground, the engines not only are providing power, but they're also providing air conditioning. So if we were taking off right now in 41 degrees centigrade, we would want to have our APU on, actually, for the takeoff. And then as soon as we're climbing, you turn that off. And that's due to the fact that the APU will provide air conditioning for the aircraft rather than the engine, so they can get that little bit more power, because as it gets hotter, the air gets thinner and you need more power to get off the ground. So if we were taking off today from Dubai, or I guess yesterday when we took off from Dubai, we would have taken off with our APU on. So that's an interesting little fact and tidbit. We were scheduled for 14 hours and 2 minutes, and I think we're going to hit that point exactly for total flight time today. We do have 14 tons left of fuel. So we have more than enough fuel that if we needed to go around and hold, we can hold for, I think, 20 minutes. I think we can do about a 20-minute hold, maybe a little bit longer. And we had some extra fuel for our E-tops as well. So we're definitely good for the water, or for just in general. But we are turning over the water right now to come back to Dubai. So we're doing this nice left-hand arc, and we'll be pretty much straight in line for the approach. Like I said, these approaches are long, but they're very elegant in the way that they're done, and they get you fairly straight in approaches. You get long finals, so you're not having a last-minute turn to final, which is something that I know people just don't like when they're flying aircraft, is having one last-minute turn on to final. So we should see the coastline right over here as we're coming in. Let's see. Don't need really the weather radar right now. Let's turn on the terrain radar. Maybe we can see the ground as it pops back in. Maybe. We're a little bit under the glide, but we're okay. And there's the burst, just kind of popped back into frame. And now we're pretty much set up on a long approach. Like I said, we're doing the RNAV approach today, which is something typically done here. They don't use ILS a lot. I've always done an RNAV approach here because it transitions really smoothly off the approach, and generally the conditions are such that I can just take over manual, which I hopefully will be doing today. Talking about manual, referencing my approach chart here, we can set up one other thing. Let me see here. RNAV 12 left. Like I said, our final altitude will be 2,000. We'll be intercepting that at about 6.5 DME. And our minimum today is a barometric of 420. So 420 feet is our minimum today. 420 is our minimum. And that will be the minimum for the approach. See, you can just kind of make out, hopefully, Dubai there, as we're now just pretty much on a straight in approach to Dubai. Oh, we do have another aircraft over here. Emirates 226 looks like it's following us on the approach, or maybe he's a departure. I don't know if he's an approach or a departure, but he's over here. He looks like he's on the same kind of approach path as us. See him all the way here. Let me see if I can zoom in on him. Hey, there he is. Oh, he's an A380. Look at that. Cool. He'll be following us in on the approach. Looks like he's got some special animal. That's cool. Well, he'll be following us in. Hopefully, maybe we'll see him. So we're almost at our minimum here. Actually, no, our initial approach, excuse me. So I'm actually going to make this down to about 1,000. That's the minimum that I'll take over for. I'm going to wait till I actually see the runway before I take over. And I think you can see it right there. Let me just double check. Double check I have visual of the runway. I do have visual of the runway. So we're at 2,500 feet above. We'll be slowing now to 190. So I'm just going to set our approach speed of 145. We're about 10 miles out. Go down to flaps 15. Gear will come out. We will arm our speed brake now. And now that we're down and locked on the gear, we'll increment the flaps. So they usually do fast approaches here, so you'll usually come in fast and then you'll get a slowdown around 10 miles out from the runway. That is typical of Dubai, as they have a lot of traffic that they try to squeeze in. So if I look right, you can see Dubai. Look at that view right there. That's a great view. But we gotta focus on the arrival. So let's do our approach checklist, or I guess our landing checklist. Speed brake armed, landing gear is down, flaps is 30. We're good to go there. So I have visual of the runway. I'm gonna take over manual now. Now we're manual on the approach. The wind is actually pretty calm today, like 8 knots, not too bad. We're gonna get actually pretty low over these buildings right here. I am using a yoke and rudder pedals as well as a throttle quadrant, so hopefully I can have a good approach. Cabin is ready, fantastic. Approaching minimums. Oop. We have visual. Continue.
300. 200. 100. 50. 30. 40. 20. 30. 20.
And we are down. It was a perfect landing. 80 knots. And we'll take over manual braking here. Keep it rolling down to the next. And that was a pretty good landing on my part. I usually mess up the landings, but I think I did fairly well on it. Looks like we'll be off here. Can't even tell what that is. Is that a whiskey? Maybe that's a whiskey. Whiskey something. And we'll be off right here. So now we'll clean up. And that's Whiskey 9, I think. So we're going to be right over here to the left, or to the right. So we'll continue. Oh, Mike 9. Mike 9 is what it is. So I think we're clear. So we'll continue our taxi onto Mike 10. To cross 12 right. And we can turn off our flight directors. Our terrain can come off. Ooh, we might be able to catch this guy's approach. He's kind of coming in right there for the approach.
Maintain flight 210 on reaching and all ready for descent. Hello, 5J, taxi now, 4.24. 202,
We're going to be parking right here at Foxtrot 25, which is a gate that I think the real world flight actually comes in at. And I try to make this as real as possible. I know that they come in at the Terminal 3, and this is a 777 gate, so we'll try to come in here. We'll make this wide turn, like so. We have our marshaller there. There he is. See if I can get a good... I need to go a little bit like this.
Traffic expect departure 0651.
Closer. Stop. Set parking brake. Our APU is running, correct? So we can turn off 2, turn off 1, set parking brakes, set the external power so that can come off. Wing light, oops. Turn off our lights here. Turn off these, and these. Alright, well, let's see if we can catch this guy landing, maybe. Ah, there he is, look at that. Right there. Got the tail end of his landing. Alright, so let's do our shutdown checklist real quick here. As I initiate... Oh no! Oh, well, I can't initiate anything because Prepared 3D just crashed. I don't know if you guys can see that or see the error, but P3D just crashed. Oof, in the neck of time. I was going to try to do a deboarding, but apparently that didn't happen. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will be back with another flight simulation video, maybe sometime shortly. Leave your comments in the comment section down below. What kind of flight do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go to? Do you want me to go to Hong Kong? Do you want me to go back to Seattle? Let me know in the comments section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in our next video.